Oh, I
All
can
right,
see
we're
it
good
now.
to go.
All right. I was waiting for the live button to show up.
It's on.
Um, okay. Hi, Chelsea. Thank you for meeting with me for this coaching meeting. And so let's get started with what are you thinking about in terms of emerging technologies and your work with kindergarten students?
Well, I'm thinking that I am very interested in technology. I want to use it more in a kindergarten classroom. I know I'm limited with my access, but I'm very eager to try everything. I just don't know where to start.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you've been learning a lot about technology, but in terms of being able to actually get in there and use it with your students, that's a problem because you don't have access to a lot of computers
Exactly.
or devices to use with your students.
Yes.
What does your access to devices look like at your school?
Currently, my classroom has access to one iPad, which is a teacher iPad, and I have a teacher laptop, so I'm able to project things whole class and involve them that way. We also go to library, and the librarian usually further on in the year after they've learned, the procedures and things, they can do computer lab, and then I think I will have more access this year in the sense of a laptop cart or maybe some access to some iPads.
Okay. So, what I'm hearing is that your students eventually have more access to technology that's shared by everyone in the school, in the library, and that this year you may be having increased access to technology, but you're not exactly sure what that's going to look like in your kindergarten classroom.
Yes.
What do you think are opportunities? Um, I guess your existing opportunities for you to learn about your students' aptitude or the types of skills that they're learning, technology skills, like 21st century skills that they're learning with their current access, say through the library when that happens. Um, and yeah, just what do you think you can learn from what they do in the library program?
Um, my fear, or not really necessarily a fear, but my thought is that what they're learning in the library seems to be pretty basic, introductory, the parts of the computer, how to use the computer, what it looks like to use it the right way, which is, very needed at a kindergarten level, but I don't think anything is being taken past that level. So what I would like to do is build on the existing knowledge they have, which is the basic introductory stuff, and take it, to actually utilizing the tools and creating stuff and collaborating. But what that looks like with 5-year-olds is kind of hard to picture sometimes.
Okay. Um, how do you think you could find out more about what that could look like with 5-year-olds?
I could definitely probably go search, a few learning networks or I don't know, some groups. I'm sure there's stuff out there. I joined a Plickers group for Facebook this summer, and that's been very helpful for some ideas even in the younger grade. But I definitely haven't gone looking to see what maybe that's looked like in different classrooms across the country. So
Okay, so what you're saying is you already are engaged in a learning network with other teachers at the kindergarten level. And could you tell me more about Plickers? I know you shared it with us with our learning community, but I didn't have a chance to really explore what it's about.
yeah,
What are you learning?
it's a formative assessment tool that you can assess your kids on the spot. So there's some cards that have specific barcodes and you can assign to each student. My goal last quarter or semester, I don't know, a couple quarters ago, was to adapt it to a younger level to see if it could work a little bit in a more friendly way for 5-year-olds because sometimes the letters on them are too small or multiple choice is a little too hard for kinder. So I focused a lot of time on developing that, but have yet to try it out a lot. So that's definitely, actually something that could be one of my goals this year is how to use Plickers with formative assessment.
Okay. Um, do you think that that is going to, or have you thought about how that's going to connect to existing standards for your students or any other learning goals that you have for them?
I definitely have thought how it could, I can picture it working as a kind of on the spot tool. Um, just in my mind, I kind of jump straight to math because it'd be a really nice on the spot quick check at the end of lessons, kind of an exit ticket to see, who's really getting what we're learning and who kind of needs that extra help.
Okay. Um, how would using that technology be different than what you currently do to assess that information, to get that information?
I think it would be quicker, be more efficient. I'm able to get a large picture from every student right away, organized into a nice format that I can see in a view that's helpful to me. Whereas right now it's more informal. It's kind of my intuition almost. I don't really have the time to sit down sometimes and go through each child to make sure they got it. Whereas a group, you know, assessment, but individual results would be very helpful.
So what you're saying is that you would actually have some hard data rather than just assessments formed by observation, right? And that would then be better because it would actually have evidence of students learning that you could capture.
Yeah, I'd
And
actually have something to use to form my next step as opposed to, I feel a little more proactive or knowledgeable in what to do next.
okay, um, that sounds great. Those sound like some really good ideas for how you might begin to use technology at that level. Um, and something that's definitely connected to your students' learning goals. Um, what do you think we should do in order to prepare for each of us to be prepared for our next coaching session? What's something that you can do and what's something that I can do as your coach?
I definitely think I could do a little more research to look at maybe what other teachers are doing with limited access to technology in their classrooms. Maybe ask around on some communities or I don't know, just do some research.
Okay. What would you like me to do to help you?
Mm, I don't know, maybe help me think of some other tools to use besides Plickers in a K classroom.
Okay. So also looking at some tools that are currently being used in kindergarten classrooms and that you might be able to apply, but something that is definitely not needing a one-to-one environment, something that's going to be, well, there might not be a full class set of devices.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, want to switch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really well. That was kind of funny
Okay.
how the train of thought actually was really relevant, and then like you jumped on the Plickers, which is something I actually feel a little bit knowledgeable about,
Mhm.
and that was really nice. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, I totally felt real. Exactly. So
it did.
that's what's really good. And I'm
Great.
I'm kind of glad too because again, I feel like K through 2 is an area that I really don't know a whole lot about and that I'm definitely not confident in. So it's actually really, it was good to listen to that and to be coaching a kindergarten teacher, like, you're playing a coach for a kindergarten teacher.
Awesome.
All right, cool.
All right, I will switch roles with you. All
Okay.
right, Liz, we're meeting today to just kind of sit down and talk about kind of what you just want to get out with our get out of our coaching relationship. Do you have any goals in mind, any bigger picture or something that connects to your school goals or district goals?
Yes, well, I'm making a big role change with in my teaching career. I'm going from being a middle school language arts teacher, so having my own class and teaching in a specific subject area, to becoming a school librarian at a middle school. And I'm very curious how that, I'll be teaching library classes with middle school students. And my natural go to is going to be teaching language arts type lessons. And that might seem to fit with a library role or a library program. But being a librarian isn't just about, fiction. Even though I did, of course, do nonfiction as a language arts teacher, but it really very curious and wondering like how I'm going to be able to meet standards and integrate technology into a library program when I'm not seeing the students every day, as I'm used to in a language arts classroom. And so I'm wondering how I'm going to be able to have a technology program that, if I'm only seeing students once a week, that seems to have continuity, and what that's going to look like.
Okay. So you're saying that you kind of had your changes. You're going to go from a language arts middle school teacher to more of a librarian technology middle school role. And you want to know what that looks like as far as integrating the technology and the continuity between your students. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay, my first thought would be, have you, let me think. What do you think you could do to kind of give yourself a few ideas or resources? What resources do you think you could check out?
Well, just definitely seeing what other tech savvy librarians are doing with their library programs. I'm curious with how they're collaborating with teachers to get more time with students, to kind of buy more time with students by co-teaching. So really just teaching more lessons than they're actually, assigned to teach, increasing their time with students by moving out, maybe out of the library into the classroom, or moving the classrooms into the library more often than just for the library class periods. So I'd be interested. I could try to find librarians who are actively doing that and who are using a lot of technology. I'm also very interested in librarians who have who are either somehow also involved if their school either has a separate makerspace or if the library has become the school's sort of technology hub slash makerspace slash whatever word they're giving for that kind of a program. And I really want to try and find places where that's happening. And I think that doing those two things will be helpful. But I also am, I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know what school I'm going to be at. And I'm kind of, none of these things will really matter if wherever I find myself isn't an environment where I can recreate what I've seen. So that'll be an issue too.
So you're saying that you're interested in collaborating and co-teaching in more of a librarian role as opposed to a sole librarian role when the kids come to you.
Right.
And the second thing is you're interested in makerspace and what that looks like in different libraries with different librarians?
Yes.
Cool. Do you know of any, I guess you said you don't know where you're going, right?
Right.
Because my question would be, is there anybody you could see yourself collaborating with? But if you don't know where you're going, that's kind of hard to answer.
Right.
I don't know. What's a makerspace look like to you, like in your mind?
Just an environment that has a lot of tools for students to use to engage in learning that may not on the surface look like it is like they're delving into any one particular academic area, but which is actually covering a lot of academic areas just beneath the surface. And so it would look like having just a variety of tools, whether they actually have to do with computing tools or robotics, or even things like sewing and, other kinds of crafting type of maker tools. So that kind of a space.
Cool. Well, it seems to me like the collaborating and the co-teaching is something that maybe you could focus on a little later when you know your status a little bit better. But makerspace is something that you and I could work on together to kind of, build what that might look like. And it might be easier for you to take that role right away wherever you end up.
Right.
So do you have any ideas in mind for maybe if we meet next time? what you could do in the meantime and what I can do to kind of help us prepare more of an agenda or a goal for next time in regards to Makerspace?
Yeah, I think that I could try to find, I mean, I was talking about finding tech savvy librarians, but I could also definitely just try to find schools where the library is definitely that kind of a hub, is also a makerspace, and talk to those librarians about how they built it. I'm sure there's also lots of information, either blogs or maybe even videos online of that happening. And so I can look for those things, and you could look for those things and send them my way if you see them.
All right, I
So
agree.
that'd be helpful.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So in the meantime, I could do the same. Maybe see if I can personally. I know the librarian at my school is actually creating a makerspace right now,
Oh,
and
that's
she's
fantastic.
kind of doing it in more like a to start out with in a more of like a sign up where teachers can sign up type of
Hmm.
thing, or as kind of a club. So I could definitely get her opinion on that, and take back some ideas for you.
That's fantastic. I could even, come and talk to her too if you can set something like that up. That would be
Definitely, she's
fantastic.
always willing to help and throw around ideas. So
All right, cool. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All
All
right.
right.
Very good.
I know it worked
So,
out really well. Do you want
and
me to
that's
stop?
real. Yeah, you can, I mean, you can stop the recording or you can keep it.